Okay, so now we're going to talk about the last reference group influence. And up there's a picture of Rub, a rich urban biker. Right, and that refers to men, but sometimes women who, are middle aged or older, usually doing quite well, whether they own their own business as a plumber or construction or electrician, or they're an accountant, a marketing executive, work in a bank. Um, Usually married, have a family, kids, a mortgage, got to think about paying for college, and they end up buying a Harley Davidson. And this guy doesn't quite have it all, but also the clothes that go along with it, the leather jacket, the chaps, the saddlebags for the bike, and all the accessories. And if you add it all up, it's a big chunk of change. It's expensive. So the question is, why are these people, buying a Harley Davidson? They don't want to join a biker gang and sell crystal meth. You might see them on 91 driving up to Northampton, and maybe they have a picnic basket with them. They're going to go drink some white wine. So, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Well, you might say that maybe they're experiencing, a midlife crisis. And that's common for men, and also, I would think, somewhat common for women. But what is a midlife crisis? Well, it's well documented in literature. But basically, when you're young, you have all these things you want to accomplish, who you want to be, where you want to go, and everything. And then, at some point, when you're closer to the end than you are to the beginning, middle age and older, you look back and see, what your life has been so far. And many times, you haven't accomplished what you want. And maybe some of the ways you wanted to be viewed, you're not viewed that way. So, and maybe people take you for granted or you feel like that. I'm working my butt off, making money. I love my wife, I love my kids, but that's all I do. I need something more. And so a lot of times this is what fills that. I want to feel I have some juice. I'm a fairly dangerous person and so forth. So they do this, right? And so they buy the Harley, right? They buy all this stuff. And why a Harley Davidson? And why a motorcycle? Well, a motorcycle or a Harley Davidson is an iron horse. And who's America's football team? The Dallas Cowboys. So, what do we know about Cowboys? Well, hey, they were tough. They had a horse. They could go wherever they want. They herded, right? They had guns. And if there was a damsel in distress, they'd run in and shoot the bad guys. So it's a strong cultural symbol, cowboy. And the motorcycle, they're kind of like bad boys. But you can't tell them what to do and they can just ride off and they're not sticking around. They're going on and so forth. So this is how people, some people can feel good about it. Hey, I'm pretty old and I coach high school football. And I've coached college football. And I coach prep school football. Why? Because it makes me feel young and vital. That's important. All right? So, this type of influences we call value expressive. So, it means that we adopt items, things, behaviors, mannerisms from groups that have similar values, even though we don't want or can't be members. So these guys don't want to be, you know, join Los Solitos or Hell's Angels. All right, they don't want to be part of the Sons of Anarchy. All right, but they're artifacts, the things that these people have, that group have, express important values. So if I wear a hoodie with my sleeves cut off, doesn't mean I think I'm Bill Belichick or I'm going to be as good, but hey, it kind of makes me feel good about myself and what I'm displaying, right? Because most of the stuff is all public stuff. And the picture at the bottom is a hipster. All right, so we tease my younger son that he's kind of a hipster because he buys that kind of stuff and has that kind of vibe, right? So he's picking from different eras and looks and so forth. All right. Now, I'll tell you another story about my oldest son when he was in school. So he was in middle school, and he was in eighth grade, I think, maybe seventh grade, and there was some cultural day at his middle school, and my wife and I went to that during the day. And a lot of the students got up, and were taught how to do certain dances reflected different cultures. And then at the end, um, all the kids got up to do a dance together. And we lived in South Windsor, Connecticut, which is a nice suburb of Hartford. Probably, I don't know, at that time 90% white, suburban, pretty good median income and everything like that. And I looked at all the kids out there, and probably 70% of them were wearing Adidas three-stripe sneakers. And I'm like, why the heck are they wearing those, right? Because Nike was number one back then. That's not that long ago, all right? And it took me a while to figure it out, but I'm sitting there going, why are they all wearing? And the girls had maybe pink stripes and different colors, and all the guys were wearing them and stuff like that. And then I realized, hey, it's because of those guys, Run DMC, who, that became a cultural icon for that group. And then, 20, it wasn't 20, yeah, but maybe about 15 years later, I was coaching at a different high school that was a suburb of Hartford, and there's a choice program, so students who are going to school in Hartford can go to a suburban school. And we had a fair amount of the kids from Hartford, and they were all wearing Vans, old school, all right? And then a whole bunch of other kids were, again, all right? So it's the idea that, hey, we adopt certain artifacts, things from other groups, because they express something important to us, right? And to others. And so, again, if you can become that brand, right, that gets that type of reputation, it can really help you. Now, is Adidas bigger than Nike? No, because it didn't last forever, but, they did pretty well with it. And Vans still marketing old school and other variations, right? And they did well with women after that because they offered their shoes in all different colors. So it's easy, and they're relatively inexpensive, so they can match, and they were in. So, again, trying to catch that as a marketer is really useful, and being aware of, current trends and how they can be adopted by others can help you be very successful.